Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. I am Professor Maqsood Ahmed, your biology teacher. Dear students, we will discuss STEP Self-Assessment Test 2023. Dear students, for the discussion of test, let's move towards the board.
Dear students, question number 1. The cells or organs which detect the changes in internal or external environment of organism and convert them into electrical impulses are called alpha, glial cells, beta, effectors, Charlie, neurons and delta receptors. तो डियर स्टूडेंट स्टेटमेंट में वो सेल्स या ऑर्गन्स जो डिटेक्ट करें चेंजेस को, तो की वर्ड है विच डिटेक्ट द चेंजेस इन इंटरनल और एक्सटर्नल एनवायरनमेंट ऑफ ऑर्गेनिज्म और उन्हें कन्वर्ट कर दें इनटू इलेक्ट्रिकल इम्पल्सिस, दे आर नोन एज रिसेप्टर्स. डेल्टा इज द राइट ऑप्शन. डियर स्टूडेंट्स, glial cells, they are non-neuronal cells which nourish the nerve cells. Examples of the glial cells are the Schwann cells, oligodendrocytes and astrocytes. Dear student, effectors क्यों नहीं पिक किया गया? बिकॉज ये वो स्ट्रक्चर्स हैं जो रिस्पॉन्ड करते हैं चेंजेस को जब ये खुद स्टिमुलेट होते हैं उन इम्पल्सिस के जरिए जो मोटर न्यूरॉन्स लाते हैं. इफेक्टर्स की एग्जांपल्स डियर स्टूडेंट्स मसल्स एंड ग्लैंड्स हैं और न्यूरॉन्स बेसिकली सेंसरी न्यूरोनल एंडिंग एट द रिसेप्टर साइट है और मोटर न्यूरॉन्स दे कैरी इम्पल्स टूवर्ड द इफेक्टर्स और इंटर न्यूरॉन्स सीएनएस में ब्रेन में प्रेजेंट हैं और इंटर न्यूरॉन इंटरप्रिटेशन या एनालिसिस ऑफ चेंजेस में इन्वॉल्व हैं. डियर स्टूडेंट्स, detect the changes is the key word from where we go to the right options, that is the delta receptors. Question number 2. Which one of the following is associated with neurosecretion? Alpha, adrenal gland, beta, parathyroid, Charlie, thyroid and delta, hypothalamus. So dear students, statement में neurosecretion is the key word. The hypothalamus is the part of brain as well as an endocrine gland. तो इसके पास न्यूरोसेक्रेटरी सेल्स हैं और ये न्यूरोसेक्रीशंस में इन्वॉल्व है. इट प्रोड्यूसेस वेरियस काइंड्स ऑफ रिलीजिंग फैक्टर्स, इनहिबिटरी हार्मोन्स. इसके अलावा ऑक्सीटोसिन एंड ADH दे आर प्रोड्यूस फ्रॉम द न्यूरोसेक्रेटरी सेल्स ऑफ हाइपोथैलेमस. डियर स्टूडेंट्स, हाइपोथैलेमस इज मेजर कोऑर्डिनेटिंग सेंटर ऑफ द बॉडी थ्रू इट्स हार्मोन्स एंड न्यूरल कनेक्शंस. एड्रीनल ग्लैंड दे आर एंडोक्राइन ग्लैंड, पैराथायरॉइड एंडोक्राइन ग्लैंड है और थायरॉइड भी एंडोक्राइन ग्लैंड है and they are the parts of endocrine system, but hypothalamus that is part of nervous system as well as endocrine system. So nervous plus endocrine means secretion secreting especially the hormones. Hypothalamus will be the right option. Delta is the correct option. Question number 3. Following changes are stimulated by oxytocin except alpha, distension of cervix, beta, decrease in progesterone level, Charlie, milk ejection and delta, milk production. So dear student, distension of cervix, decrease in progesterone level and milk ejection, they are the functions of oxytocin except the milk production, which is not the function of oxytocin, it is the function of LTH and placental lactogen. They prepare the mammary glands for milk production. Oxytocin ejection of milk cause करता है by acting on the smooth muscles of mammary glands. इसके अलावा ऑक्सीटोसिन स्मूथ मसल्स ऑफ मायोमीट्रियम मीन यूट्रस पे एक्ट करता है इन हेल्पिंग इन द पार्चुरेशन और बर्थ प्रोसेस एंड डिस्टेंशन ऑफ सर्विक्स कॉज करता है हेल्पिंग इन द बर्थ प्रोसेस और इट इज डिक्रीजिंग द प्रोजेस्टेरोन लेवल और ऑनसेट ऑफ बर्थ कॉज करेगा. राइट ऑप्शन है इज द डेल्टा, मिल्क प्रोडक्शन. क्वेश्चन नंबर 4. मूवमेंट्स ऑफ सब्सटेंसेस थ्रू हॉलो ऑर्गन्स आर कंट्रोल्ड बाय alpha, smooth muscles, beta, striated muscles, Charlie, skeletal muscles and delta, cardiac muscles. Dear student, substances की movement through hollow organs like blood vessels, like gut, gastrointestinal tract, they contain the smooth muscles and smooth muscles are non-striated muscles or unstripped muscles. Skeletal muscles striated muscles हैं, mean stripped muscles हैं और वॉलेंटली कंट्रोल्ड हैं, जबकि कार्डिक मसल्स भी स्ट्रिप्ड मसल्स हैं और इनवॉलेंटली कंट्रोल्ड हैं. स्मूथ मसल्स इज द राइट ऑप्शन. मूवमेंट ऑफ सब्सटेंसेस थ्रू द हॉलो ऑर्गन्स आर कंट्रोल्ड बाय स्मूथ मसल्स एंड द प्रिमिटिव टाइप ऑफ मसल्स आर आल्सो द स्मूथ मसल्स. क्वेश्चन नंबर 5. द मेन न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर ऑफ PNS is alpha, serotonin, beta, dopamine, Charlie, acetylcholine and delta adrenaline. Dear student, peripheral nervous system का main neurotransmitter acetylcholine है. Acetylcholine is the main neurotransmitter for the synapses that lie outside the central nervous system. जबकि serotonin that controls the mood swinging and dopamine known as pleasure molecule and adrenaline that is involved in the emergency situation, and adrenaline and noradrenaline synergistically blood pressure raise करते हैं in the emergency situations. Adrenaline is also known as epinephrine. It is produced from the adrenal medulla. Acetylcholine is the exceptional point which is not the neurotransmitter of the synapses lying inside the CNS. जबकि ये neurotransmitter of the synapses lying outside the CNS mean peripheral nervous system का है. तो Charlie is the right option, acetylcholine. Acetylcholine basically cholineceptors पे act करता है और cholineceptors दो तरह के निकोटीनिक एंड मस्करीनिक रिसेप्टर्स, इसीलिए निकोटीन मिमिक करती है या कॉपी करती है एक्शन ऑफ एसिटाइलकोलिन को. राइट ऑप्शन है इज द चार्ली एसिटाइलकोलिन. Question number 6. Scrotum contains alpha male copulatory organ, beta female copulatory organ, Charlie male gonads and delta female gonads. Dear students, scrotum that is skin sac and testes they are contained within scrotal sac. Scrotum contains male gonads and male gonads are the testes. So dear student, basic purpose thermoregulation है. Testes are lying inside the scrotal sac outside the body. और थर्मोरेगुलेशन के लिए टेम्परेचर मेंटेन्ड है अराउंड 35 डिग्री सेल्सियस, 2 डिग्री लोअर देन दैट ऑफ बॉडी टेम्परेचर. डियर स्टूडेंट्स, फीमेल गोनैड्स ओवरीज विद इन बॉडी, मेल कॉपुलेटरी ऑर्गन इज नॉट कंटेन्ड विद इन स्क्रॉटम एंड फीमेल कॉपुलेटरी ऑर्गन और क्लाइटोरिस दैट इज नॉट प्लेस्ड इन द स्क्रॉटल सैक. Question number 7. Luteotropic hormone is also called as alpha LH, beta prolactin, Charlie vasopressin and delta oxytocin. Dear student, luteotropic hormone को prolactin भी कहते हैं. Beta is the right option. It is also called as LTH or it is called as lactogenic hormone. LTH or lactogenic hormone is the another name for luteotropic hormone. LH is the luteinizing hormone, induces the ovulation, and vasopressin is the antidiuretic hormone involved in the antidiuresis, and it is involved in the production of concentrated urine by causing active uptake of water from the collecting duct. And dear students, oxytocin का रोल हम पहले डिस्कस कर चुके हैं. oxytocin स्मूथ मसल्स ऑफ यूट्रस पे एक्ट करता है और हेल्प करता है बर्थ प्रोसेस में, जिसे टेक्निकली पार्चुरेशन कहते हैं, और मेमरी ग्लैंड से इजेक्शन ऑफ मिल्क भी कॉज करता है. राइट ऑप्शन इज द बीटा प्रोलैक्टिन विच इज मिल्क प्रोड्यूसिंग हार्मोन. Question number 8. Spermatogonia are produced inside the alpha lobules of testes, beta epididymis, Charlie seminiferous tubules and delta vas deferens. Dear students, spermatogonia are produced inside the seminiferous tubules. Dear students, seminiferous tubules की germinal epithelium divides by mitosis producing spermatogonia, and spermatogonia they increase in size to form the primary spermatocytes, undergo meiosis 1 produce the secondary spermatocytes, and secondary spermatocytes meiosis 2 के अंदर जाके बनाते हैं spermatids, और spermatids differentiate होकर बनाते हैं sperms या spermatozoa. Dear students, spermatids का convert होना into sperms, it is the spermiogenesis और whole process that is spermatogenesis. तो spermatogonia produce होते हैं inside the seminiferous tubules, form the germinal epithelium of the seminiferous tubule. Right option is the Charlie. Dear students, main sperm duct vas deferens and lobules, they are the compartments inside the testes. Each testis has 250 to 300 lobules, and epididymis highly convoluted portion जहाँ पे sperms temporarily stored होते हैं of the vas deferens है. Epididymis highly convoluted portion. Question number 9. To break the link between the myosin bridge and the actin, muscle needs alpha strength, beta ATPs, Charlie calcium and delta tropomyosin. Dear students, link between myosin bridge and the actin, इसके break करने के लिए energy required है, and direct source of energy is the ATP, while the indirect source of energy is the creatine phosphate या phosphocreatine है. Dear student, muscles they are strengthened by more supply of the oxygen, more supply of the blood, and muscles they increase in size at the rest because more blood supply will be there, and hormones will be acting more to cause the growth in muscles, and calcium that is required for muscular contraction, but energy that is required to break the cross bridges between the myosin and the actin. Cross bridges are the myosin heads which are attached to the actin. Dear students, by the disposal of the tropomyosin from the actin heads become attached to the myosin to form the cross bridges, or cross bridges they are broken by the use of the ATP, mean respiration dependent process hai. Right option here is the ATPs, mean universal energy currency of the cell, adenosine triphosphate required. Beta is the right option. Question number 10, the electrical potential that exists across a cell membrane is known as alpha resting potential, beta action potential, Charlie membrane potential, and delta latent potential. Dear student, electrical potential जो exist करता है across a membrane, that is known as membrane potential, and that may be the cell membrane of the nerve cell, that may be the membrane of the muscle cell, and that may be the membrane of the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. So dear students, membrane potential can be of two types. When no nerve impulse is being conducted, that is called as resting membrane potential, and when nerve impulse is being conducted, that is called as action potential या active membrane potential, and latent hidden के लिए term use किए हैं. Dear students, question number 11, it is exclusively produced from the duodenum, alpha gastrin, beta secretin, Charlie oxytocin, and delta calcitonin. Dear student, gastrin is produced from the pyloric mucosal region and it is produced from the stomach, while the secretin that is produced from the duodenum, that is the first part of the small intestine, and oxytocin it is produced from hypothalamus, and calcitonin it is produced from the thyroid, and antagonizing hormone of the calcitonin is the parathyroid hormone or PTH. Right option is the beta secretin. Dear students, secretin is the first ever discovered hormone discovered by the Baylis, and right option here is the beta secretin जो pancreatic secretion, hepatopancreatic secretions को increase कर देता है, and gastric juice produce कराने में involved है. Right option beta. Question number 12, each spermatocyte produces alpha single spermatid, beta 2 spermatid, Charlie 3 spermatids, and delta 4 spermatids. So dear student, each spermatocyte produces single spermatid, no, beta 2 spermatids, no, Charlie 3 spermatids, no, and delta 4 spermatids, yes. Dear students, each spermatocyte it produces the 4 spermatids. Primary spermatocyte undergoes secondary meiosis 1 to produce the 2 secondary spermatocytes, and 2 secondary spermatocytes they will form the 4 spermatids. 1 primary spermatocyte, 2 secondary spermatocyte, 4 spermatids, and spermatids mature होकर 4 sperms बनाते हैं. 1 meiotic division, basically meiosis के अंदर 4 cells बनते हैं, तो each spermatocyte it produces 4 spermatids which are the actually immature spermatids के लिए. तो right, not single, not 2, not 3, 4 is the right option, delta. Question number 3, inflammatory and degenerative disease that damages the joints is called alpha spondylosis, beta herniation, Charlie sciatica, and delta arthritis. Dear students, spondylosis is the fusion and immobility of the vertebral joints. Herniation is the slipping of the disc slip को herniation का नाम देते हैं, and sciatica that is severe and stabbing pain produced across the course of sciatic nerve due to the negligence of the physician hand by wrong administration of injection in the buttock muscles हो सकता है, or due to the accident हो सकता है, due to falling somewhere. And arthritis, arthro is the word for joints and itis for inflammation. Inflammatory disease of the joints, that is called as arthritis. And arthritis is of two types, acute arthritis and chronic arthritis. Sudden severe acute due to the bacterial invasion, and chronic including the gouty arthritis, osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis वगैरह. Right option is the delta. Question number 14, main nutritional part of nerve cell is alpha axon, beta dendron, Charlie soma, and delta neuroglia. Dear students, axon, dendron, they are the cytoplasmic processes. Axon carrying impulse away from the cell body, while the dendron carrying impulse toward the cell body. And the soma, that is the cell body. Soma के लिए another term क्या है? Soma is also known as perikaryon. Soma, perikaryon, or the cell body. that is the main nourishing part of the nerve cell. अगर एक nerve cell का soma intact रहे और axon damage हो जाए तो soma can regenerate the axon. The main nourishing part of the nerve cell is the soma, or main nourishing cells of the nerve cells are the neuroglial cells or the neuroglia. Dear student, neuroglia are the non-neuronal cells which make as much as half of the nervous system. Charlie is the right option, soma. Question number 15, the interaction between the pituitary and other endocrine glands over which it exerts control is an example of alpha, positive feedback mechanism, beta, negative feedback mechanism, Charlie, feedback activation, and delta, feedback inhibition. Feedback mechanism, and mostly feedbacks negative in nature हैं, or like in case of thyroid stimulation, the thyroxine can inhibit the controlling authority, and positive feedback they can be found with examples like in case of oxytocin and production of LH from the anterior pituitary. Broader sense, negative feedback mechanism, that is the right option over here. Product inhibit कर दे enzyme को, feedback inhibition है, और अगर precursor activate करे reaction को, that will be called as feedback activation or the precursor activation. ये related mechanism है to the enzymes. Dear student, positive feedback mechanism और negative feedback mechanism given option में से suitable option है negative feedback mechanism. The interaction between the pituitary and other endocrine glands over which it exerts control is an example of negative feedback mechanism. In most of the cases, negative feedback mechanism is seen with the exception of the oxytocin and LH production. Right option is the beta, negative feedback mechanism. Question number 16, site for fertilization of ovum is alpha, vagina, beta, uterus, Charlie, ovary, and delta, oviduct. Dear student, site for fertilization of ovum is oviduct. ओविडक्ट के प्रॉक्सिमल पार्ट में फर्टिलाइजेशन होती है और फर्टिलाइज्ड एग इम्प्लांट होता है इन द यूटरस, और इम्प्लांटेशन के बाद यहाँ पे प्लेसेंटा एस्टैब्लिशमेंट मीन जेस्टेशन मेंटेन होती है. और डियर स्टूडेंट्स, यूटरस ओपन्स इनटू वेजाइना थ्रू द सर्विक्स विच इज द नेक ऑफ द यूटरस. तो साइट ऑफ फर्टिलाइजेशन इज द ओविडक्ट, while the site of implantation is the uterus, while the site of production of the ovum is the ovary, and site of delivery, that is the vagina. Uterus opens into the birth canal through the cervix. तो dear student, ovary में egg production, oviduct में fertilization, uterus में implantation, and through the vagina discharge of the ovum in case of unfertilized egg, and discharge of the fully developed or delivering of the fully developed embryo in case of fertilized egg. Right option is the delta. Dear students, question number 17, at resting stage in a skeletal muscle, the binding sites of myosin heads on actin filaments are occupied by alpha, calcium ions, beta, myosin heads, Charlie, troponin, and delta, tropomyosin. Dear student, resting stage पे skeletal muscle binding site of myosin heads on actin filaments are occupied by tropomyosin. Dear student, tropomyosin actin के head को cover किए होती है at resting stage. When muscle is required to contract, तो calcium ion bind करते हैं with the troponin, और ये T and C के साथ bind करेंगे और dispose of करेंगे tropomyosin को, ताकि वो bind करे actin, ताकि actin bind करे with the myosin to form the cross bridges, or cross bridges they are broken by use of ATP or the energy. Right option is the delta, tropomyosin. Question number 18, the chief structural and functional units of nervous system are neurons, but there are other cells in higher animals which make up as much as alpha, half of the nervous system, beta, quarter of the nervous system, Charlie, 2/3 of nervous system delta, 1/3 of the nervous system. So dear students, it is as much as half of the nervous system. Chief structure and functional unit of nervous system neurons हैं, but other cells in higher animals जो बनाते हैं as much as half of nervous system, they are the neuroglia or the neuroglial cells or glial cells, या उन्हें ग्लाया भी कहते हैं. Neuroglia make as much as half of nervous system. Right option is the alpha. Question number 19, impact of calcitonin can be antagonized by alpha, PTH, beta, STH, Charlie, TSH, and delta, ICSH. Dear students, PTH is the parathyroid hormone, and parathyroid hormone antagonizes the function of calcitonin. Dear student, blood calcium level it is regulated by calcitonin and parathyroid hormone by working in the antagonistic manner. Blood is having calcium almost 8.5 up to 10.2 milligram per deciliter of the blood plasma, and blood calcium level अगर raise होता है तो calcitonin blood का calcium bones पे deposit करवा देता है, mean mineralization of bones, और पैराथायरॉयड हार्मोन अगर ब्लड का कैल्शियम लेवल कम हो रहा है तो पैराथायरॉयड हार्मोन बोन से कैल्शियम रिलीज करा के ब्लड में ले आता है, मीन डीमिनरलाइजेशन कॉज करता है. तो कैल्सिटोनिन, इम्पैक्ट ऑफ कैल्सिटोनिन कैन बी एंटागनाइज्ड बाय द alpha PTH parathyroid hormone secreted by the parathyroid gland. Dear student, STH, that is somatotropic hormone involved in the growth and development. It is the anterior pituitary hormone and it is not a tropic hormone. TSH, that is thyroid stimulating hormone acting on thyroid gland secreted from the anterior pituitary. It is a tropic hormone. And ICSH, that is interstitial cell stimulating hormone. It is coming from anterior pituitary. It is gonadotropic hormone and stimulates the interstitial cells or leading cells to produce the testosterone. Right option is the alpha. Question number 20. Uterus receives sperms through alpha cervix, beta oviduct, Charlie vagina and delta ovary. Dear student, uterus receives sperms through cervix. Alpha is the right option. And oviduct, that receives the ovum from the ovary, and vagina, that basically vagina is the birth canal, ovary produces the egg. अगर हम diagrammatically देखें तो ovary produces the ovum or the egg, and it is in the form of secondary oocyte arrested at the metaphase to meiosis 2. Ovum is traveling in the oviduct, and sperms, they are coming from the vaginal canal through the cervix into the uterus and into the oviduct for fertilization. So dear student, uterus receives the sperms from vagina through the cervix. That is the channel. Uterus receives sperms through the cervix, and oviduct, that is the duct leading toward the uterus. Oviduct opens into the uterus, and vagina is the birth canal, and ovary, that is the site of production of the egg. Neck of the uterus is known as cervix. So alpha is the right option, through the cervix, that is through keyword. Dear students, for the discussion of question number 21, let's move towards the next board. Question number 21. The only muscles that are voluntarily controlled are alpha smooth muscles, beta circular muscles, Charlie cardiac muscles and delta skeletal muscles. Dear students, muscles voluntarily controlled हैं, they are actually the skeletal muscles. जबकि smooth muscles they can be longitudinal, can be circular muscles, they are involuntarily controlled, and cardiac muscles, they are also not having voluntary control. So dear students, skeletal muscles is the right option. Delta is the right choice. Question number 22. The cells or organs that carry out responses are called alpha neuron, beta receptors, Charlie effectors and delta moderators. Dear students, वो cells या organs जो response carry करें, they are known as effectors. Effectors are the structures which respond to the changes when they are stimulated by an impulse coming via motor neurons, and examples of effectors हैं muscles and glands. Dear student, muscles, they show response by contraction and glands by secreting their secretions. Right option A is the Charlie. Neurons, they are the nerve cells, they are sensory neuron at the receptor site, motor neurons toward the effectors and interneurons in the CNS, especially the brain. And receptors already हम discuss कर चुके हैं. Question number 23. Progressive demineralization of bones takes place due to the alpha or underactivity of thyroid, beta overactivity of thyroid, Charlie underactivity of parathyroid and delta overactivity of parathyroid. Dear student, progressive demineralization होती है bones की due to overactivity of parathyroid. Dear student, parathyroid की overactivity, excessive demineralization of bones is due to the overactivity of parathyroid. ऑलरेडी हम डिस्कस कर चुके हैं, बोन से कैल्शियम रिलीज करा के ब्लड में लेके आता है पैराथायरॉयड हार्मोन, और ब्लड का कैल्शियम लेवल अगर बढ़ रहा हो तो उसे डिपॉजिट करता है बोन्स पे. तो मिनरलाइजेशन इज ड्यू टू कैल्सिटोनिन एंड डीमिनरलाइजेशन ऑफ बोन्स ड्यू टू द पीटीएच और पैराथायरॉयड हार्मोन. तो एक्सेसिव डीमिनरलाइजेशन कैन लीड टुवर्ड द बोन softening, can leading toward the fracture of the bone. Demineralization, over activity of PTH और parathyroid gland की वजह से. Under activity of thyroid, overactivity of thyroid, underactivity of parathyroid. Dear student, underactivity of thyroid, it will be leading toward the less production of calcitonin. It means that will not be depositing the calcium onto the bone, and overactivity of thyroid means it will be depositing more calcium onto the bones, mean more mineralization. Underactivity, less mineralization, and underactivity of parathyroid, it will be leading toward the less demineralization. Progressive demineralization of bones takes place due to the overactivity of the parathyroid. Right option is the delta. Dear students, question number 24, gonadotropins regulate the alpha uterine cycle, beta ovarian cycle, Charlie menstrual cycle, and delta life cycle. Dear students, life cycle in case of plants, that is completed by alternation of generation, but menstrual cycle, that starting from one point and coming to that point, menstrual cycle is having two events, that is the uterine cycle and ovarian cycle. Basically life cycle, that is the alternation of generation. Life cycle is not over here the point. Gonadotropins regulate the menstrual cycle. Menstrual cycle or human female reproductive cycle, that is under the control of pituitary gonadotropins like FSH and LH. FSH follicular development and LH ovulation cause करता है. Right option is the Charlie, ovarian and uterine both are covered in the Charlie menstrual cycle, and life cycle that is related with the plants and algae and in case of fungi. Right option is the Charlie. Question number 25, the joints that are adapted to reduce friction are called alpha fibrous joints, beta cartilaginous joints, Charlie synovial joints, and delta hinge joints. So dear student, fibrous joints, they are actually immovable joints and they are not in the condition to reduce the friction. Cartilaginous joints, they are slightly movable joints with little or no movements, like in case of vertebral joints, and fibrous joints switchers हैं like skull joints, and hinge joints and ball and socket joints, they are freely movable joints. उनके दरमियान friction reduce होनी चाहिए. तो basically ये joints adapted and to reduce the friction, actually synovial joints, which may be hinge joint, may be ball and socket joint, may be the saddle joint, may be the pivot joint or rotary joint, or maybe the gliding joint. Correct option is the Charlie. Question number 26, the contact point between two consecutive neurons is called alpha cleft, beta knob, Charlie node, and delta synapse. Dear students, contact point between two consecutive neurons is called as synapse. When two consecutive neurons are so arranged that axon ending of one neuron communicates with the dendrite of the another neuron, microscopic gaps are left which are known as synapse. और basically presynaptic and postsynaptic membrane के दरमियान आने वाला gap, that is synaptic cleft. Right option is the delta. Dear students, cleft is the gap and here is the structure synaptic knob. Question number 27, sperms are discharged out through alpha urinary duct, beta genital duct, Charlie urinogenital duct, and delta ejaculatory duct. Dear student, discharged out is the keyword, through the urinogenital duct. Dear students, sperms, they are carried from the testes through the main duct called as vas deferens, and vas deferens that will be leading toward the ejaculatory duct, and vas deferens comes toward the seminal vesicle, then ejaculatory duct. From the prostate gland carry the semen toward the urethra, which is the urinogenital duct, and from the urinogenital duct the sperms are discharged out. So dear students, sperms are discharged out through the urethra, which in the male is called as urinogenital duct. Charlie is the right option. Question number 28, androgens which are associated with the development of the secondary male characteristics are secreted by alpha male, beta female, Charlie male and female, and delta testes and ovaries. Dear students, male, female, basically they are having gonads called as testes and ovaries. Androgens basically associated with the development of male secondary sex characteristics. They are secreted by male secondary sex characteristics. They are actually secreted by both male and female, and from the adrenal gland which are located at the top of each kidney. Adrenal gland, which are also called as suprarenal, they are located at the top of each kidney. Adrenal gland ka outer portion, adrenal cortex, that produces the androgen hormone or androgenic hormone, or sometime adrenal cortex that is having tumor, तो फिर androgen ज़्यादा produce हो जाते हैं. In the case of female, the male like characteristics can be induced, but these cases are very rare in nature. Right option is the Charlie, male and female. Dear student, in case of female, the testosterone they are produced which are converted into the estrogens. Charlie is the right option. Andro for the male and gens for generator. Male characteristics giver. Actually, androgens are produced from the or secreted from the adrenal cortex, which is the outer portion of the adrenal gland. Dear students, question number 29. This causes the discharge of blood and the cell debris. Alpha, menstruation. Beta, ovulation. Charlie, oogenesis. And delta, luteinization. Dear student, ovulation, that is the discharge of ovum from the ovary in the form of secondary oocyte. Oogenesis is the production of the egg, and luteinization, that is the action of the LH converting the ruptured follicle into the yellowish color glandular structure called as corpus luteum. Dear student, menstruation is the right option. This causes the discharge of the blood and the cell debris. Alpha is the right option, menstruation. And in human female reproductive cycle, the menstruation stage lasts for 3 to 7 days, mean averagely 5 days. Right option is the alpha, discharge of the blood and the cell debris if fertilization doesn't occur due to the regression of the corpus luteum and conversion of the corpus luteum into corpus albicans. Dear student, question number 30. Following are the features of tendon except alpha. Following are the features of tendon except alpha. It contains elastic fibers. Beta, it is bundle of collagen. Charlie, it is connective tissue. Delta, it is cartilage in nature. Dear students, beta, Charlie and delta characteristics हैं या features हैं of the tendon, while alpha is not the feature of the tendon. Tendon is inelastic and tendon causes attachment of muscle to the bone. It is containing elastic fibers. It is the exceptional choice which is not related over here with the features of the tendon. Right option here is the alpha. It contains elastic fibers. Dear students, for discussion of question number 31, let's move towards the next board. Question number 31. It is produced under the influence of protein food in the stomach after it is partially digested. Alpha, secretin. Beta, gastrin. Charlie, pepsin. And delta, mucin. Dear students, under the influence of proteinous food or protein food in the stomach after it is partially digested, when this food touches the pyloric mucosal region of the stomach, gastrin hormone is produced, which is locally acting hormone. It stimulates the gastric glands to produce the gastric juice for the proteinous food digestion in the case of for the digestion of the proteins present in the stomach. Right option is the gastrin. Beta, secretin हम already discuss कर रहे हैं. Pepsin, that is the active enzyme produced in the form of proenzyme called as pepsinogen, and it is converted into the active form by the action of HCl. And mucins, right option is the beta, gastrin. Mucin is not produced under the influence of protein food and in the stomach after it is partially digested. Beta is the right option, which is the gastrin, stimulating the gastric glands to produce the gastric juice. Question number 32. Ovulation is suppressed by alpha, estrogen. Beta, progesterone. Charlie, cortisol. And delta, oxytocin. Dear student, here is the keyword suppressed by. So ovulation, that is suppressed by progesterone, and estrogen inhibits the FSH, and that is steroidal hormone. Cortisol, that is a glucocorticoid, and oxytocin, that is having oxytocic effect, milk ejection and helping in birth process, which is parturition. Ovulation suppression is by the progesterone produced from the ruptured follicle modified into the corpus luteum. Dear student, इसीलिए progesterone part है of the birth control pills, जिन्हें contraceptives का नाम भी देते हैं. तो contraceptive or birth control pills, they are having progesterone hormone that suppress the ovulation by inhibiting the LH, which induces the ovulation. Right option is the beta. Question number 33. A motor unit is a group of muscle fibers innervated by alpha, a single motor neuron. Beta, a group of motor neurons. Charlie, a single sensory neuron. And delta, a group of sensory neurons. So dear students, motor unit group of muscle fibers are innervated by single motor neuron. Alpha is the right option. Question number 34. Inside the ovary, oogenesis proceeds up to alpha, metaphase 1, beta, metaphase 2, Charlie, anaphase 1 and delta, anaphase 2. Dear student, inside the ovary, oogenesis proceed होती है up to the metaphase 2. And secondary oocyte having meiosis 2 arrested at the metaphase 2 due to presence of the cytostatic factor. Dear students, cytostatic factor break hota hai after the fertilization and the meiosis 2 proceeds on at the anaphase 2 and telophase 2. So ovum will be arrested at the metaphase 2 until and unless it will be fertilized due to presence of cytostatic factor. Correct option A is the metaphase 2 beta. And dear students, the last MCQ is the structure in skeletal muscles with minimum thickness is alpha muscle fiber, beta myofibril, Charlie actin filament and delta myosin filament. Dear students, अगर हम मसल फाइबर की थिकनेस को डिस्कस करें तो दैट इज 10 to 100 माइक्रॉन्स, myofibril 1 to 2 माइक्रॉन and myofilaments, thick filaments contain 16 nanometer dia and the thin filaments contain 7 to 8 nanometer dia. Actually the actin filament. तो dear students, minimum thickness के साथ actin filaments हैं. Right option is the Charlie actin filaments. Dear students, hope that you have understood well the self-assessment test 2023. Dear students, thank you so much. Stay blessed. Allah Hafiz.